So if I knew these 7 things before I started the farm, I would probably be making twice the amount of money that I'm making on the farm right now. Well, probably just a little bit less, but certainly way more money than I'm currently making on the farm. And so for someone outside there who wants to start a farm, this is a really critical video for you, because these are things that I have personally learned over time, things that I see a lot of beginning farmers actually make mistakes of, because I certainly did make them, and I honestly think I'm above average when it does come to commitment and, you know, trying to put your mind to doing something. So that means most people are actually going to make these mistakes, or even worse. So if you're someone who wants to start a farm, it doesn't matter what kind of farm that you're in, then you're in the right place. Just stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have dealt with these 7 things, and if you actually do implement them on the farm that you're going to be starting, most probably you're never going to get into this trouble. So let's dive right into the video. First thing is do the research yourself. So initially, when I wanted to start out with the farm, I made a bit of background research. What was the research that I made? I watched a lot of YouTube videos about the cost of starting a farm, for example, about the kind of structures you need to put up, about what kind of feed you need to feed the chickens. You know, the things that we really do consider technical, yeah? And the things that wouldn't really matter depending on the kind of country you're in. It doesn't matter whether you're in the Philippines, Uganda, South Africa, or Jamaica. Most probably the kind of feeds that chickens are going to feed on is the same. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, so they have said that we need maize. Is there maize in Uganda? Okay, there's maize in Uganda. Is there maize in Jamaica? Probably there's maize in Jamaica. Maize in the Philippines, you're like, okay, I do have these things. They're talking of soya cake or soya. Is there soya in this country? So a lot of people will get lost in understanding the basic information, and they forget about the more critical, more particular information. So what is the more particular information? For me, for example, when I was starting out, I was told that the price of maize was 600 shillings in terms of Ugandan currency. Then I went and started a farm, made all my calculations, because someone who had been keeping chickens 2 years earlier told me that it was 600 shillings. Then when I started my farm, I was paying 1,300 shillings. That is twice as much as you would expect anyone to pay. So ideally, what should I have done? I mean, when it reached the point for me selling the eggs, I only thought about the market when it was about time to produce the eggs. Then I went around the area looking for who to sell the eggs to. And then I found out at that time that the price of eggs was much lower than what I expected. Yeah, much lower. About 2,000 shillings less than what I expected. Then after that, another thing is, when it reached the feed, I didn't really consider, the local suppliers. So when I was starting out, I used to get a bit or parts of my feed from really far away. Like 200 kilometers away. They had to transport the things from 200 kilometers away. And I had a small farm. So again, it was quite chaotic and difficult for me. Yeah. So ideally, what should I have done? Number one, when it does come to the maize, I should have moved in the market myself and asked people physically in the market what the prices of maize are. You know, how much does the maize cost? Where can I get the maize? How does the price of the maize vary based on the seasons and things like that? If I had gotten that information earlier myself, then I would have had better planning. Number two, how much does a tray of eggs cost in the area? Of course, it keeps varying. What was the price a month ago? What was the price 2 months ago? If I had gotten that information, it would have helped me much more in my planning. And I'll give you the honest truth. If it's not for the good friends that I had at that point, because at that point, I was at a point where I really didn't have money, because I didn't plan properly and I didn't plan for my prices properly. I really ran out of money. And if I didn't have good friends who could lend me money, who could, offer me money, and, some of them offered to give me money and I would pay it back at an interest much later on. But if not for these people, then I would have been in trouble. Terrible trouble. But thankfully, they really helped me out and I sorted it. So for a lot of people, they don't have such friends and they get into such trouble and they lose money. So number one, do the research yourself. Don't rely on what people say. Don't rely on YouTube videos. It's good to get it as background information, but it's not going to be the information that you're going to utilize generally all the way through. Point number two is that it takes longer than you think. Way longer. So a lot of times when you start out on the farm, you will make your plans initially for when you're starting. And then you're thinking, I remember a friend of mine, yeah? I was talking to her when I was starting out my farm, and I was telling her, currently I'm starting with 750 chickens, but I have this goal, I have this dream. I was like, if I can one day get to 4,000 chickens in like the next 2 years, I believe in the next 2 years, I'll have 4,000 chickens. if I can get to 4,000 chickens, I'll be making this amount of money every month. And can you imagine making this amount of money every month? I'll be super rich. It was quite crazy. I mean, those were the dreams that I did have at a particular point. And they were real. And it's good to have such dreams. But the one thing that I want to, let you know is that most probably it's going to take longer than you think. Yeah. A lot of times when you think about things, we think about only the good side of things happening. We don't think about, the fact that in most things in life, not everything is going to happen perfectly. So, for example, when you're planning out your farm, most probably you're going to plan on the price of maize being low and ideal. Currently, the price of maize in my country is 1,550, actually moving up to 1,600. Last year, at around the same time, we were paying 800, 900. Right now, we are paying 1,500, 1,600. Crazy price, yeah? If you start a farm thinking that you're going to be paying 800, most probably it's going to slow you down. If you had particular plans, you are thinking you're going to be getting this amount of money, it's going to slow you down. You're going to move much slower, yeah? And that's the ideal world, yeah? So if you sit down and you're thinking, things are going to move very fast, everything is going to be going ideal, no. Most probably it's going to be taking longer than usual. And when it takes longer than usual, just be ready for it, yeah? Understand that it takes longer than usual, but at a particular point, if you do everything well and follow up through with everything very well, the ball will start rolling faster, It's just like, if someone goes at the top of a hill and they're trying to push a very big rock from the top of the hill, yeah? At the beginning, you need a bit of energy to get that ball rolling down the hill, yeah? You need a lot of energy because it's stationary, it's not moving, yeah? So you're going to use a lot of energy and first push it just a little bit. It's probably going to start rolling very slowly, but the more you push it a little bit, it's going to pick up inertia and energy and it will start rolling down much quicker, yeah? So what you need to remember is that every effort that you put in, you're actually working towards making that ball roll quicker, making that ball, you're making your slope. Literally, that's what you're doing. You're making a slope, yeah? At the beginning, you're literally making a slope. And at a particular point, that ball will roll quicker because you've made a slope that's good enough for it, yeah? So don't give up. Understand that it's going to be much slower than you anticipate, but it will turn out really quick if you just keep doing the right thing. Now, the third point is that it actually gets harder before it gets simpler. Yeah, that is true. I mean, when you start out, you have this fairy tale experience, yeah? This fairy tale hope. I mean, you've seen Dr. Daniel, you've seen him start and build his farm. You've seen him build the chicken structures around the farm. You've seen some other farmers start and you've seen their farms grow, yeah? You've seen me resign as being a doctor and, go into farming, and I'm telling you how beautiful it is. The one thing that you actually don't have, that I do have, is the experience. And I personally, for me, it got harder before it got better, and I'll tell you, it will most certainly get a bit harder for you before it gets better. Because the thing about getting hard is that it's not about the success, it's not about the beauty, yeah? You might actually start and you have a bit of money coming in and, everything is going well, but being hard is more of a psychological thing, yeah? It's more of the difficult things that you go through. What's going to happen is that you're going to go through a few difficult things. Yeah, you're going to have workers disturb you and want to steal from you, or maybe even steal from you. You might get a few chickens getting sick over here or there. You might get, your electricity going off and some of the chickens pile up and die. Your supplier for feed disappointing you, are not giving you the correct feed. You're going to get issues. That's what you're going to understand. You're going to get issues. And the thing about it getting hard is that the learning process of how to deal with these circumstances, these difficulties on the farm, is actually where the hardness is, yeah? It's not about how successful the farm is, no? It's about, the learning process, the learning period of, learning new things that you're going to be implementing on the farm, yeah? How to deal with this, how to deal with that. Those things are going to stress you out. But with time, as you get to learn and you get to understand how to deal with them, you're going to feel like you now have figured it out. You understand how to deal with it much better than you did before. And that is just going to, make you feel better, and it's going to make life much easier. So understand that it's going to get much, much harder before it gets easier. But when it gets easier, it's going to become the norm, yeah? And it's going to become really beautiful. So make sure that you keep that at the back of your mind. So the fourth thing I wish I knew was to question everything, yeah? No one knows it well enough. No one knows it well enough. When I started out, I thought particular people were like good, they had figured it out. The one thing that I have personally learned on my journey is that, first of all, no one knows it. No one knows it well enough. You've got to question everything, and you've got to try and implement everything based on your context. Yeah, everyone has their farm, and everyone's farm is different. The kind of people who are in your environment are different. The neighbors you have are different. The market that you sell to is different. The sources where you get your feeds from, your feeds and whatever you feed your chickens are all different. Everything is different, and because everything is different, everyone is going to go through a different kind of experience. That's the one thing you're going to have to understand. Yeah, and what that means is that you're going to have to tailor the circumstances and to tailor everything you go through based on your circumstances. Yeah, you're not going to listen to what someone has implemented on their farm and just take it as gospel truth. It might have worked for them, but it won't work for you. That is one thing I have personally learned. Yeah, there's something that you're going to read up in textbooks and they're just not going to work on the farm. There's something that you're going to experience on other people's farms. Even if you're a manager who has worked on someone else's farm, if you move to my farm, you're going to learn that things are different. Yeah, everyone goes through different experiences, and these different experiences take us through different things. Yeah, we learn different things and we need to implement these things differently. So that's what you need to understand. Yeah, every circumstance is different, everyone is different, no one has perfectly figured it out. That's the comfort you need to have. Personally, I learned that because currently that I'm doing the farm, I've learned a lot of things that I'm teaching to a lot of farmers. I currently do have the Farm Up Academy, where I've started a course where I train and teach people how to start and build a successful poultry farm. And in there, a lot of people are learning from there. But when I started out, I was a novice and I didn't get information. Now, even the information I'm giving them can improve. It's not like it cannot improve, it cannot get better. No, I consistently keep getting better, and when I get better, I share that information, yeah, with different groups of people and even with people in the academy. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you want to join the Farm Up Academy, there's a link in the description of this video. You can go and check it out. Very beautiful course. If you want to start and scale a poultry farm, I can guarantee you that this is the one thing that you're missing out on. Anyway, yeah. So what you need to understand is that I personally am also learning. I've learned from the past, and I've implemented things that have helped me scale and grow the farm, and you can utilize it too on your farm. So understand that you can keep learning and nothing is gospel truth. Point number 5 is that you should hire novices mostly. Yeah, hire novices mostly. Not everyone that you do hire on the farm should be a novice. Yeah, but personally, and I'm speaking this from a point of you need to understand the context. Yeah, I don't want you to go outside there telling everyone that Dr. Daniel says you need to hire novices. No, you need to understand the context from which I am coming. Yeah, and I personally learned this from experience, from the past. Yeah, so initially when I started out my farm, of course I didn't have experience running a farm. So what I did is that the first person I got on the farm was also a novice. I tried to teach him, but then the second person I got and the third person I got were people who had experiences working on other people's farms. And when they came, there are a few things that I learned from them. But then what I learned is that they were actually more of a problem compared to the information that I got from them. And why is it that they were more of a problem? When someone comes, especially the kinds of people who work on farms, because most of the people who work on farms are not like proper skilled labor. Yeah, if you're getting, people to work on the poultry farm, they're not like someone who went and studied a degree to do poultry farming. Most of them know, maybe the manager or something like that. Yeah, but most of them are not like, they didn't get degrees in poultry farming. You get anyone who has a bit of reasoning and can try to implement some of the things that you tell them, and you get them to come on the farm and they will work. Now what happens is that a lot of them, if you get them from a place where they have been working on a particular farm, what has happened is that they have been indoctrinated. Indoctrinated means that they have learned that what was happening on the farm that they were on is the gospel truth. Yeah, that's it. It's gospel truth. And what that means is that when they come in your place, teaching them, it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. So once you try to teach them, most probably you're going to have to first brainwash them of what was happening in the past and teach them what's happening new. And that's a very long process. Yeah. A lot of times they're going to be very resistant to the things you're giving them because they'll tell you, no, the things are supposed to be done this way. We always do them this way because for them, that's what they were doing before, and they consider that to be the truth. That's what they think is going to be gospel truth. Yeah. So you need to make sure that when you're training them and when you're teaching them, you teach them from first principles, and the easiest way to do that is to get people who are brand new. They haven't had any experiences. The other problem with getting people who are not novices is that they have learned how to steal. That's personally what I experienced from that group of people. They had learned how to steal, and if you get someone who has learned how to steal, I mean, it's not like every worker learns how to steal. A big percentage of them will. Yeah, and they have learned particular methods that they can use to steal on the farm. They just go to implement them on the farm. Yeah, so I personally prefer to just get new people, teach them my way, teach them the way I do things, my way, and that way, that's what they're going to consider gospel truth. If they go to another place and they're teaching them that, well, that's their point. But for me, they're going to learn my principles right from the beginning, and it serves me best if that's what's happening. Now, of course, there's an exception to that rule, yeah? Especially if you're talking about the managerial positions, the top positions, it might be quite difficult for you to hire people who completely have no skill, no background of learning anything. That might be a problem for you, yeah? It might turn out to be a problem if you decide to completely hire people who are complete novices, yeah? You want to make sure that you hire people who understand a bit of what to do, you know, what's happening, how to handle some of these problems. So, not complete novices when it does come to the managerial positions, yeah? The reason is that you expect that people who are in managerial positions understand a sense of responsibility, understand that, you know, circumstances on this farm might be different from the other farm. So we don't expect them to come and copy and paste everything from that side to this side, yeah? So that's the expectation. But if it's not that, the novices would be the best alternative. Point number 6 is no credit facilities, yeah? Now, I personally learned this the hard way, and I've gone through this not only on my farm, but through a lot of people, with a lot of people who are dealing with farms. I mean, it's very, very difficult to give people products on credit. For me, I produce eggs. I used to give eggs on credit, and up to now, I still have people who I'm demanding for 2 years, 1 year. They haven't paid. Why? Because of giving them products on credit. So my advice is never, ever, ever give out stuff on credit. Just don't give out stuff on credit. Just let go. If someone wants stuff on credit, just tell them no. I would rather keep my product to myself, sell it to someone at a much lower price than give someone credit, especially when it comes to the farm, you know, the farm produce. Especially considering, you know, farms rely a lot on cash flow. You want to make sure that you have money available. So someone takes your stuff, they're not paying you back, and yet you need money to buy feed, to buy all these kinds of things. Very terrible idea. So, number 1 and very key rule when it does come to sales, don't give out credit unless you must. I don't know the circumstances under which you must, yeah? But unless you must and it's the only alternative available, just avoid it. Finally, number 7 is records. Records, yeah? You need to make sure that you keep records on the farm. And I wish I knew this earlier. Initially, when I started out, I was keeping a bit of records, but not all the records. I want to tell you something. This is something I've talked about a lot on the channel, and it's something I'll keep reiterating, I don't know, for the rest of time, yeah? Records are very important because records help you understand how the farm is performing. They help you understand where you need to make changes and where you don't need to make changes. They help you understand where to make improvements, yeah? If you don't keep records on your farm, things are going to be very chaotic for you. Very, very chaotic. So keep as many records as possible. They're actually going to be very helpful for you. They're going to be very useful for you when it does come to, you know, managing the farm, you know, making changes, purchasing feed, knowing where your mistakes are, knowing what things to cut off, what new things to introduce, knowing which kinds of workers to get rid of, which kinds of workers to introduce, knowing, you know, what diseases came in and what the causes of the diseases are. All that only comes in because of records. So make sure that you implement records all the way, yeah? Keep records, and I mean, it should be gospel truth on your farm. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.